Summer is here, and the loud roar of the engines is back on Friday nights in Grand Forks. The legendary track at River City Speedway has been home to racing for over 100 years. The Bull Ring, as it is affectionately called, is one of the most action-packed dirt tracks in the country. And for the first time ever, Midco Sports Network is here, showcasing all the mudslinging, high-flying action at the storied, high-banked 3/10 mile oval. The green flag drops now. Hello and welcome to River City Speedway here in Grand Forks, North Dakota for our first ever live broadcast of dirt track racing here on Midco Sports Network. Should be a fun evening of action. 4 classes taking part in tonight's festivities here as the Grand Forks County Fair is in town. Brian Shawn, Chris Schierick, Jay Elson will be your broadcast team for tonight's festivities. And Chris, let's start off with you a little bit. This is a legendary raceway that's been around for more than 100 years. You raced here for a number of years in a sprint car. What's it like to have an event like this to you?
There's nothing that compares to it. You have a 3/10 mile racetrack, high banked. You have cars on the top, you got cars on the bottom. I mean, this is going to be an exciting track, exciting race. This is going to be fun.
All right, thanks so much for joining us tonight too, Chris. Jay, you know about this track. You've never been here before,
right.
But for the first time you get a chance to see a race here live. What's that going to be like for you?
Well, I'll tell you what, I mean, I've been covering the track for 5 years, but as you said, I never actually had a chance to be here in person. It's fun to watch on video. I can only imagine once I get inside those walls to actually watch them whip it around me from the infield, just how exciting it's going to be. It's going to be a fun night, and I think it's going to be a great night for the sport of dirt track racing and for us here at Midco Sports Network as well.
Yeah, no question about it. Should be a lot of fun. Chris, Jay, Brian, we'll have the live action coming up for you in just a couple of minutes with the late model heats. The legends are also here. The lightning sprints are here. And of course, the Northern Outlaw Sprint Association sprint cars are here as well. We will have the green flag dropping next. Stay tuned for live dirt track racing here on Midco Sports Network. Hello and welcome back to River City Speedway here in Grand Forks, getting set for one of 3 late model heats that we'll have coming up for you here in just a couple of moments, followed by 3 sprint car heats from the Northern Outlaw Sprint Association. And then, of course, we will have all 4 feature races for you here as the Grand Forks County Fair is also in session here in Grand Forks tonight. Let's take a look at your starting grid, brought to you by Dano's Marine. First heat lineup looks like this. Ricky Weiss and Bill Mooney, a couple of veterans from Manitoba on that front row. Brody Trotgrubin, Mike Martin. Ryan Corbett from East Grand Forks, Minnesota will start on the inside of row 3. Scott Blintz on the outside of row 3. And your final starter for this first heat is Stephen Snare from Halleck, Minnesota. And Ricky Weiss, part of Chris's car report. And Chris, a guy that's been around a lot.
We got the home of economy, Chris's car report with Ricky Weiss. Ricky's got a Bloomquist chassis with a Vic Hill engine. He's been racing for about 10 years. He's got 4 Wayzata championships, 1 NLRA championship, and he was the Challenge Series champion this past year.
Guy that's been racing a long time here at River City Speedway, Chris, and we were just talking about the Speedway a little bit, shaping up to be a nice racetrack, and unfortunately last week we had a little bit of rain when the World Outlaws was in town.
Yeah, when you get rain like that, it turns into a one lane track, and tonight it looks good. We got dry slick in the middle, we got a groove on the bottom, and we got a nice cushion up on top. Should be good. Double foul racing.
Brian Shawn, Chris Schierick with you here up top in the booth on River City Speedway, and a little bit of close quarters, but kind of a different look, certainly from what you and I are used to.
Yeah, it's a lot taller, a lot higher up here than it is sitting on the track, that's for sure.
No question about it. Thanks so much for joining us of our first live dirt track telecast here on Midco Sports Network, and excited to bring it to you on what should be a pretty fun evening of racing. So thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll hope to have some good racing for you here throughout the evening. As I mentioned, 3 late model heats followed by 3 sprint car heats, and then we will start off with the Legends feature. I believe will be the first feature on the track, followed by the Lightning Sprint. Tomorrow night, right back at it. More racing coming up here at River City Speedway, some different classes. But it's been a busy week for the NOSA Sprints too, Chris, just because they ran in Norman County and last night, and then back here tonight, and then right back here again tomorrow night.
Yeah, those are always fun races when you have double headers and triple headers during the week when they're fairly close to home. Ada is always a fun track. It's a big half mile, really fast. Then, you know, nothing better than having a double header at your home track.
working in the track a little bit. They were able to take a few minutes after the lightning sprint heats and just dig up the track a little bit. Chris, what all are they trying to do when are they trying to get more moisture in the track, or what's the goal of that?
Well, they're trying to make a double file racetrack, groove on the bottom with a little bit of moisture. It's a slower way around the track, but it's shorter. Then you have a groove up on top, which is where you carry your momentum up there, and you can just let it sail up on top. Gives two different grooves. You have a dry slick in the middle for slide jobs.
All right, so Weiss and Mooney get things started here on our first heat race with the late models, the NLRA late models here tonight. Coming out of 3 into 4, and right out of the gate, there goes Ricky Weiss off to a quick early lead, but going high is Bill Mooney as they race around turn 2.
Bill Mooney utilizing the top groove, using that momentum.
Boy, almost right together as they come out of turn 2 into turn 3. Already seeing the racetrack pretty fast on both grooves. Look how hard they run that tire into that cushion, Chris.
That is, when you have a cushion up on top like that, you can throw it up as hard as you can and just let her fly.
Weiss having the advantage, and really Mooney and Weiss have distanced themselves from the rest of the field, and a distance third right now is Mike Martin, another driver from Manitoba, but quickly coming back to take third place is Ryan Corbett from East Grand Forks, and now he'll give chase to the leaders.
You notice Ricky moves up to the top. He likes running the top here in River City Speedway. As soon as he got past Mooney, he jumped right up to the top.
They continue to follow the leader. Ryan Corbett closing the gap a little bit, just 2.5 seconds behind the 2 leaders. Mooney 1 second back of Weiss on that last lap. 1 lap to go. White flag, and we do have a caution, I believe. A couple of cars in turn 2 that got together.
Looks like Stefan Snare and Brody Troftgruben. I believe this is Brody's first year in the late model. He ran go-karts earlier, so this is always fun seeing a rookie move up through the ranks. Ran go-karts, and now he's up into the late models.
Yeah, just lost it in turn 2 as Troftgruben got around, and unfortunately for Stefan Snare, he got caught up in that a little bit. But again, Troftgruben, it takes a while to get used to these things. Chris, we were talking with Dustin Strand not that long ago, who was the 2016 Wayzata champion, and he had mentioned too the hydraulics on these cars, and there's a lot of complicated stuff going on in the back end of a late model people may not realize. Yeah,
the suspension on these things is key. You make one wrong mistake on any suspension, whether it's a turn here into the torsion arm or the spring, put too hard of a spring, too soft of a spring on any of the 4 corners, and that'll really disrupt the car and it'll make it a handful to drive.
That was your first Dakota Cat caution of the evening. I'm sure we'll have several others as we get into the feature events. We do have a good number of sprint cars on hand, 25 sprint cars here for the Northern Outlaw Sprint Association as well. So green-white checkered here to wrap up our first heat. We saw Mooney trying to get the jump on Weiss out of the start. And here comes Mooney to the inside. Weiss to the high side, and Mooney took the spot away from him as they race towards the finish line. Weiss carrying the momentum. And here comes the Buffalo Wild Wings checkered flag as Mooney almost got ahead of Weiss, and Weiss came back and got him at the checkered. Corbett finishes third, followed by Stefan Snare, Mike Martin, Brody Troftgruben, and Scott Bintz will round out your first 7 cars. We'll take a quick timeout and be back with more. Pretty good first heat race. Stay with us. First live production of Dirt Track Racing on Midco SM. Back here at River City Speedway in Grand Forks as we take a look And our second heat race lineup coming out into staging on the track as we take a look at our results from the opening heat race, and those results brought to you by Acme. Ricky Weiss, Bill Mooney battling it out. Pretty good finish there between those two, Trot Grube and Martin Corbett. You saw Corbett was in third place. A step and snare from Halleck, Minnesota at heat race as well. So here come late model heats number 2, 6 cars. 7 cars, excuse me. There are 21 late models here, so we'll have 3 heat races of 7. And a couple of veterans in this group, so to speak. And we'll take a look at the Danos Marine starting lineup. Steven Anderson, Zach Nosted on your front row. Brad Sang, the longtime veteran, 25 years he's been racing. Troy Schill also on the outside row too. Travis Robertson and Tom Corcoran from East Grand Forks. And then Brandon Fuller will be our final starter. The 9 car out of Grand Forks. Chris's car report for Zach Nosted, brought to you by Home of Economy.
Zach Nosted is utilizing a Millennium chassis with a Ben Adams engine. He's been racing for 9 years and 5 of them in the late models. He's sponsored by Q&Z Plumbing, SKZ, and Nosted Acres. That's Zach Nosted out of Northwood.
All right, Zach Nosted, that's your Home of Economy, Chris's car reports. Getting set for the green flag. Steve Anderson and Zach Nosted taking us to green here, coming out of turn 4. Anderson quickly leads, but on the high side, there goes Nosted flying by, and here comes the veteran Brad Sang working on the inside. Nosted, an early 1-second lead. Here comes Troy Schill making a move on the outside, and he shoots into second place.
Brad Sang's trying to follow suit up on top.
Sometimes that's what it needs, Chris, is you got to follow whoever seems to be running good and try that line, right?
Yeah, sometimes all you got to do is follow a guy just to be getting past the guy in front of you.
And Sang went high and then went low and might have the advantage here going into turn 1, and he takes over the 3rd spot from Steve Anderson.
With a classic crossover move.
Meanwhile, it's really been all Zach Nosted here in this second heat race. Getting a little loose that time was Troy Schill. Sang continues to give chase. Travis Robertson holding down the 5th spot. The T1 of Tom Corcoran, who's been racing for 45 years, right now in 6th.
Yeah, Zach's kind of got it on cruise control right now. He's got a clear sailing in front of him. He can just kind of set it on cruise and keep doing what he's doing, hitting his marks.
Now, meanwhile, here comes Travis Robertson trying to work his way around Steve Anderson. Nosted going to win this race going away the way it appears right now. A lead of nearly 3 seconds at the white flag, and coming to the Buffalo Wild Wings checkered flag, it is none other than Zach Nosted. Finishing second will be the 11 car of Troy Schill. Brad Sang coming home 3rd. Steve Anderson in 4th, Travis Robertson 5th, Tom Corcoran and Brandon Fuller rounding out heat race number 2. We'll take another quick break and be back with heat race number 3 from your River City Speedway during the Grand Forks County Fair in Grand Forks. Back here for heat race number 3 of the NLRA late models, as we take a look at some of our heat 2 results. Brought to you by Acme. You saw Zach Nosted run away with it. Troy Schill 2nd, Brad Sang coming home 3rd. And the rest of your heat race 2 lineup. And now we go right to our Danos Marine starting lineup for heat race number 3. Cody Storbakken, Mike Balkin on front row. Balkin, one of those veterans. Shane Eddington, Joey Peterson, another veteran from East Grand Forks in row 2. Terry Blacklance, Dustin Strand, the 2016 Wayzata National Champion, and Nicholas Minsky, your 7th and final starter here in Heat Race 2. Let's take a look at our Chris's car report, brought to you by Home of Economy.
Speaking of veteran, Mike Balkin's been racing for 34 years, and from 1995 to 2000, he was doing double duty in the sprint car and the late model. In the 34 years, Mike Balkin has accumulated 46 championships. Quite the resume.
Wow. Has a daughter, Amber, that race. Is also a family member of the Kennedys, Thomas Kennedy, Luke Kennedy. That family's been racing sprint cars forever, seems like.
We'll be seeing Thomas here in the sprint cars in a little bit.
He is in the Buffalo Wild Wings number 82 car tonight over his normal blue 21K as we get set for heat race number 3. Storbakken and Balkin out of the chute. And Balkin quickly to the low side of the track, and Dustin Strand already into third, nearly as he makes a move on Shane Eddington. Strand, one of those guys, always seems to be in the mix here weekly. Whoa, he got into the back of a car. Joey Peterson sliding to the inside, 3 wide heading into turn 3. Balkin continues to lead. We do have a slow car on the bottom of the track. Look like 2 cars that got into each other a little bit as they're trying to steer down the front straightaway. So lap traffic probably coming into effect here. Boy, that one car is really loose. That
one car has a definite push. He's got way too much rear down pressure or downforce on the rear end. He's having trouble steering that car.
Had a tough time steering that thing as Balkin continues to cruise. Dustin Strand now around Minsky for second. Terry Blacklands is that other car that is getting lapped currently here by Balkin as they go side by side down the back straightaway. Here comes Strand. They have a tough time catching the veteran, Balkin. Has an advantage of a second and a half with just a couple of laps to go. Peterson still battling for that third spot back there with Shane Eddington. White flag, 1 lap to go. And Balkin looks like he will hold off Strand and take the Buffalo Wild Wings checkered flag. So Mike Balkin, heat race number 3 winner. Coming home third was Eddington. Joey Peterson in 4th. And in 5th is the 15 car of Cody Storbakken from Williston, North Dakota. So Balkin picks up the heat win. That's your final heat race for the late models. We'll be back with the Northern Outlaw Sprint Association heat races coming up on Midco Sports Network. Stay with us.
This race on Midco Sports Network is presented by Home of Economy and Danos Marine.
Well, Chris, we should go for a ride on the Ferris wheel. Looks like a pleasant night for that. The first heat of the Northern Outlaw Sprint Association. Sprint cars are entering the track. Take a look at our Acme Tools final results from late model heat number 3. Mike Balkin, Dustin Strand. 2 guys that have a lot of wins underneath their belt. Shane Eddington, Jody Peterson, 3rd and 4th, followed by Cody Storbakken, Terry Blacklands, Lance, and Nicholas Minsky. Take a look at our Danos Marine starting the sprint lineup here for heat race number 1. Ty Hanton to Fargo, Chris Ranton, the rhyming front row, Hanton and Ranton. Ran from Climax, Minnesota. Sabrina Hawkinson from Bemidji making an appearance here at River City Speedway with Wade Nygaard, who was last night's winner at Norman County Raceway. Jade Hastings and Justin Berg will start on the 3rd row. Zach Wild and Austin Pierce, former NOSA champion, on the outside of row 4, and Tanner Wisk from Grand Forks will start as the final starter as we take a look at Austin Pierce for Chris's Car Report, brought to you by Home of Economy.
Austin is utilizing a Schnee chassis with an Ostrich Power engine. This year he's got 1 win. He's a 2-time River City Speedway champion and a 1-time NOSA champion.
Pierce, actually, this last winter, actually went down to Arizona for a couple of World of Outlaw races just to get some experience down there in the dust out in Phoenix.
Yeah, whenever you can race in Arizona, it's a vacation and it's racing. I don't know what more a driver can ask for.
Pierce continuing to get better and better every year in that sprint car. Came home, posted a top 5 finish last night at Norman County Raceway on what was really a dry, slick track. And Nygaard held off Thomas Kennedy and Mark Dodmeyer, who charged from the 4th row, finishing 2nd. As they come in, and Ty Hanton will take him to the green, and here we go. Quickly, Chris Ranton with a slide job on Ty Hanton coming out of turn 2. Nygaard third. Here comes Jade Hastings and Austin Pierce working around traffic up to fourth. Pierce trying to take away fourth from Jade Hastings. Passing points are what matter here, right, Chris? That's what determines your starting spot in the feature.
You actually start with the point average, and then the top 3 of each heat will go back to a point average for the feature.
So Ranton pulling away easily. Won a race here just a couple of weeks ago at River City Speedway. Ty Hatton still holding down second, Nygaard third, and now Austin Pierce is taken away. Fourth place from Jade Hastings, the youngster. Zach Wild also moving in.
Chris Ranton just went above the 47 of Sabrina Hawkinson for a lap car.
Tanner Wisk has a flat tire. A flat right rear on Tanner Wisk, the 22. He's still trying to motor around the track, but clearly now realizes he can't do it anymore. He will pull to the infield. Here comes Ranton. The lead, and 3 seconds for Ranton. As he continues to maneuver, and Ty Hatton still in second. Pierce trying to battle there with Wade Nygaard for third, and that's an important position, right, Chris?
Yes, it is. That will dictate starting position, whether you start towards the back or semi towards the front.
Boy, Ranton just cruising. Pierce looked like he got a bad run there coming off of turn 4. Felt back quite a ways of Wade Nygaard. Chris Ranton is cruising. A 3-second lead over Hatton as he heads towards the Buffalo Wild Wings checkered flag. Chris Ranton, heat race #1 winner.
Wade Nygaard with a nice slide job for second.
Got by Hatton. Austin Pierce comes home fourth. Jade Hastings fifth, followed by Zach Wild. Justin Berg, Sabrina Hawkinson, and then Tanner Wisk will round out your results here from heat race #1. Boy, Chris Ranton picking up where he left off the last time he was here at River City Speedway. Picked up a feature victory. We'll be back with more action here at the Northern Outlaw Sprint Association Sprint Cars. Coming up here from what they call the best dirt track here in Grand Forks. Back here at River City Speedway in Grand Forks, they're pushing off heat race #2, which has quite a few strong cars in there as we take a look at your Acme equipment. Sprint heat #1 results. Chris Ranton running away with it. Wade Nygaard, good job in the last couple of laps to work his way into second place. Ty Hatton of Fargo is third. Austin Pierce finishing fourth. And then the youngster Jade Hastings fifth, followed by Zach Wild, Justin Berg, Sabrina Hawkinson, and Tanner Wisk. Here's a look at your sprint car starting grid, brought to you by Danos Marine for heat race #2. Jordan Adams drew well, drew 13, so he's on the pole. On the outside of him, the 82K of Thomas Kennedy in that Buffalo Wild Wings car. Jordan Graham and Cale Mack on row 2. Tom Eglin, another veteran's been racing a long time, along with Braden Pendley, who's still pretty new to the sport, still a teenager, I believe, out of Langdon. Brendan Wild and Jackson Mopp in row 4, followed by Alex Larson in row 5. And we'll take a look at Jordan Adams, the 28 out of Reynolds, North Dakota, part of your Home of Economy car report.
Jordan Adams is running the Home of Economy sponsored car. He's utilizing a Schnee chassis with a Gertie engine. He's actually currently got 1 win this season, and he's got 2 under his belt.
Yeah, big win coming up at Jamestown back on June 10th. His last win before that, 2014 in Greenbush. He has never won a race here at River City Speedway, but continues to get better. They have been running an Eagle chassis, Chris, throughout most of the year, but Georgia said they can't quite get it right in the features. Just a little bit too tight for his liking. Went back to the Schnee tonight.
Yeah, and sometimes all it takes is just a chassis change, and that gets the driver's confidence up, and they'll move forward. They'll go fast.
Here are the River City Speedway sprint car standings. Casey Mack, we'll see him in the next heat race. Holding down the top spot, Austin Pierce right on his heels. Chris Ranton did not run with the World of Outlaws. You had mentioned that Chris is really a busy guy running his own business, trying to do a lot of different things. Doesn't always have a lot of time to race.
Yeah, Chris has got about 4 or 5 different things in his back pocket, trying to not make ends meet, but trying to run a business. Just recently got married, and he's trying to have fun racing.
See Bobby Martin, another veteran, Trent Stengel, another youngster in the 7 car. And we have a car, Braden Pendley went over on the front stretch on a red flag as they were speeding up. And Pendley just went over.
It looks like she got a little too high coming on of turn 4, and the car just started to work itself around. And we utilize such soft left side shocks on these cars and left side tire pressure that when the car starts sliding on the left, it will tip over very, very easily.
That's a tough break for the youngster Pendley as there's smoke coming out of the engine. We'll see how bad it is. And there you see her. She just lost it and turned over on her own. And fortunately, Jordan Adams missed her. He just about got in the back of her. Look at the replay there.
It didn't look like she went over all that hard, but obviously you can see the top wing is a little crunched in the back. Depending on if she broke anything on the left side, she may be able to push off and continue to run this heat.
Just by looking at the car, Chris, you see the wing bench right there. How much of an impact does that have on the car?
On a quarter mile like this, or a 3/10 mile, it's not that big of a deal. You can see the uprights are broken. On a fast, heavy track, that wing will fold over and it'll break, and you lost all your left side down pressure, or downforce, excuse me.
So Pendley looks like she might try to push this thing off, see if she can get it going again. And it's underway, so it looks like she might be able to go. I think she will head to the back, though, with that, right, Chris? Causing that red, even on as they line up?
Yeah, anytime a car stops, whether it's your fault or not, anytime a sprint car stops, you have to restart at the tail end of the lead or the lap that you were on, lead lap or lap down.
Jay Elson, our third member of our broadcast team, is down to the pits, roaming trackside, and information on Chris Ranton, the guy that just won here a couple weeks ago. Chris Ranton, been very, very strong, and here comes Jay Elson, who is the third member of our broadcast team, and he is roaming the pits, and he is live. And let's go to Jay.
Yeah, guys, I just got a chance to talk to Chris after he pulled off the track after his heat race win, and just simply asked him, Chris, you won by 3 seconds. Is there anything you're going to do different for the feature tonight? And he said, you know, honestly, if the track stays like it is right now, he really liked it. He thought it was really racy, which is a good sign. I heard you guys talking about that a little bit earlier. But he said, you know, if it does stay like it is right now, I'd like to try and gain a little bit more traction, maybe tighten up the car just a little bit if the track stays as it is. But he said it's always a guessing game with these sprints. You know all about that, Chris.
Absolutely. It's a lot different driving the car through traffic than it is driving when you're up in front. And it's a lot easier to drive when you're trying to pass 7, 8, 9 cars in a heat versus 25 in a feature.
Ranton certainly had it hooked up. And again, when you're looking at changes, you're talking about, when you talk about changes in the suspension, a half turn here, a half turn there can make all the difference, can't it?
Absolutely. And on a track like this, the track's going to be dry slick, I believe, all night with a nice cushion up on top. It's not going to take a lot of tweaking, but somebody will be making the right choice.
Making your television debut, a 3-time Northern Outlaw Sprint Association champion, Chris Schierick. Brian Sean, pleased to be with you here from River City Speedway in Grand Forks as we get set for heat race number 3. Thanks so much for joining us here today.
Thanks for having me. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun for me too, and especially after watching races up here as long as we have. And you've raced on this track enough, Chris, to know how it goes. And Jordan Adams got off to a little bit of a slow start, spun the tires, and Kennedy took advantage. He gets up on the cushion to take an early lead. Kennedy has a lap of a nearly 11 seconds that last time around. He has a 1.5-second lead over Jordan Adams, and those two are pulling away. Some pretty good racing going on in the back, especially for 4th, 5th, and 6th. Cale Mack, Tom Eglin, and Jackson Moffitt of Fargo battling. There's a look at Moffitt, just his 3rd year in a sprint car. Kennedy working around Pendley as he continues to stretch it out. There's the battle for some of the other cars. Cale Mack, his 1st year in a sprint car. Alex Larson and Tom Eglin. There's a look at Kennedy rolling in the 82 Buffalo Wild Wings car.
We'll see how Kennedy handles these lap traffic cars in here. There's a lot of cars in front of him.
Trying to get by Wild. Brennan Wild, the number 35 car to Thief River Falls, Minnesota. Fly job there from Kennedy, who was in this 82 car for the weekend. There's third different driver that had that car this month. Cap Henry started off the year driving that 82 machine. Dusty Zomer was actually in it last weekend for the Outlaws.
Yeah, Thomas has run the 82 Buffalo Wild Wings car a couple different times. I know he ran at the end of it last year, and now he's running this year, and it doesn't look like he's missed a beat.
Adams puts a slide job on Cale Mack. And we had somebody get into some barrels over there as water went shooting at turn 4.
White flag for Thomas Kennedy's looking like he's on cruise control up on top.
A 3-second lead over Jordan Adam, and the Buffalo Wild Wings 82 takes the Buffalo Wild Wings checkered flag in impressive fashion. Adams will come home second easily, followed by Jordan Graham, Jackson Moffitt, Alex Larson, Tom Eglund, Brennan Wild, Cale Mack, and Braden Pendley. That's how they will finish here in heat race number 2. Thomas Kennedy looking impressive so far here early. Back with heat race number 3 from here at the Bull Ring, coming up next on Midco SN. Look at pit road. Pit row, Austin Pierce, Alex Larson, nice number of sprint cars here. 24 last night, Norman County Raceway in Ada. 25 here tonight. As we take a look at your Acme Equipment NOSA Sprint Heat number 2 results. Thomas Kennedy rolling to an easy victory of nearly 4 seconds over Jordan Adams. Jordan Graham was 3rd, followed by Fargo's Jackson Moffitt. Alex Larson, Tom Eglund was 6th. Brennan Wild, Cale Mack, and Braden Pendley round out your top 9 as we look at your NOSA Sprint starting grid, brought to you by Dano's Marine. Another veteran, Greg Nikotenko. Starting on the pole, Blake Eglund on the outside, John Source and Nick Omdahl of East Grand Forks. On row 2, Trent Stengel, another youngster having a good year so far, 4th in the NOSA points. Inside of row 3 with Shane Romling, Trevor Mell. In row 4 with Casey Mack, the current Northern Outlaw Sprint Association and River City Speedway points leader. And there's a look at Greg Nikotenko, one of the very, very veteran drivers from North Dakota, part of Chris's car report brought to you by Home of Economy.
Greg is actually from Minot, North Dakota. He is running a Parker engine with an Eagle frame. Greg's actually got multiple championships, all in River City Speedway and NOSA.
Nikotenko, 31 years he's been racing, which has been a long, long storied career from Minot. Guy that's known very, very well throughout racing circles throughout North Dakota. And the 27X of Trevor Mell, now it's listed 1 AJ in the program, but Trevor Mell's he's pretty new to 410 sprint car racing. Was in a 305, mainly ran in Sioux Falls at Badlands Speedway.
Yeah, a 27X is a car from Winnipeg, Canada, and he brought the car down and said, run my car.
And here he is. Lives in Harwood, North Dakota. Same hometown as Lee Gross as they spread out. Hit to the green flag. Nikotenko leads heading in to turn 1. Romling quickly coming out of turn 2, all the way up to 3rd. And now Romling looking for 2nd around Nick Omdahl. Blake Eglund and Casey Mack also working his way up through the field. He started dead last and now all the way up to 4th. Mack putting a slide job on the 26 of Eglund. You talked about the track, Chris. It's looking a little blue. It's slicking off a little bit, isn't it?
Yeah, I was just going to mention that all the cars are jumping up to the top, bring around the top, get their momentum going. Once you catch the car in front of you, you dive to the bottom, slide up in front of the other car. That's called a slide job. Shane Romling's trying one right now.
Romling spinning the tires a little bit coming out of turn 2 that time, and that allows Omdahl to get a little bit closer. Now Omdahl to the low side of the track as Nikotenko continues to lead, and Romling lost it and barrel rolls down the front straightaway in a red flag, and Shane Romling takes a tumble into 31. Another Dakota Cat caution. And this is a Dakota Cat red on top of it. Hopefully Romling okay, one of the veteran racers. Got himself into a little bit of trouble with the World of Outlaws last week when they were here. Take another look at it. Watch the 31. You see Mack doing battle with Nikotenko, and then Romling right there, just lost it on the cushion. Easy for that to happen. We saw Jacob Allen last week with the World of Outlaws was leading the race, actually did the exact same thing in that spot.
Yeah, the track's really tough right there because you pull onto the track there, so it kind of gets a little flattened off there, a little drier than the rest of the track. So you're bumping off the cushion up on top. Once you get to that spot on the track, the car just kind of washes away on you, and that's why we have water barrels there. Not the first car to hit it, and it won't be the last car.
No, single file, only double file, still the last five.
And there goes Romling. You see him climbing out of the car there in the black racing suit. Romling looks like he's in pretty good spirits, all things considered. Was talking to someone in the crowd and is smiling. Tough break for the 31, who was running second. And I'm guessing he's not going to be able to get that car back together for tonight's main event, Chris.
It depends. I mean, there's certain items on the car that's fairly fixable, fairly quick fixable. If it's just top wings, you know, that's about 2 minutes. You can replace all that. But it did look like there were some radius rods of the car that were bent or broke. It wouldn't surprise me to see him back out for the feature. Car might not be perfect, but the car, it wouldn't surprise me to see it back out on the track.
It's going to be taken off by the wrecker here as the sun has come out. Mostly cloudy today here in Grand Forks. Pretty cool, unseasonably, right around 60, 65 degrees most of the day.
That sun actually will wreak havoc on the drivers as they're coming out of turn 2. You're looking directly into the sun. There was times where when I used to race, you'd put your hand up to block the sun as you're going into the turn 3 and 4. So as fast as these cars are driving, sometimes you are driving with one hand going into turn 3 and 4.
Well, Jay Elson, our trackside pit reporter, is down where that wreck happened. What do you got for us, Jay?
Yeah, I got a chance to talk to Shane as he was getting out of the car. First and foremost, he was absolutely okay, which is obviously the most important news. Just asked him what happened there. Said it got a little too antsy. He said, you know what Donnie Schatz says, don't you? And I said, well, I bet you're going to tell me. And he says, second sucks. That's what I got for you, boys.
Even in a heat race.
Even in a heat race.
Take another look here up top. Romling was actually out of your frame, and then, yeah, he kind of hit that one white barrel right there, and that's what kind of turned the car and went topsy-turvy after hitting that thing.
Yeah, it doesn't take much to get these cars to roll over, as you saw in the last heat with Braden Pengilly, just looping it and hitting the wall, or looping it and tipping it over.
Based on what you're seeing right there, Chris, how manageable is that going to be to put back together?
Well, it looks like the right side, by that right front, there's a bar. That's a radius rod. That's a couple bolts, and that's easily fixable. The front axle could be broke, just the way they're carrying the car. Left rear tire, that's an easy fix. It'll probably be, you know, just quick looking, 20, 30 minutes, and that car will be back 100%.
Wow, that's quick.
Absolutely.
Well, one guy that took a tumble at the Jackson Nationals run of the 360s was Thomas Kennedy in the 21K. Just how hellacious this was. One of the worst flips I have seen on this track ever. Watch him hit the cushion and look at the car go flying. My goodness.
That is what you call a snap roll. When the car kind of bicycles and just whips really hard, that's a snap roll. Those are one of the hardest crashes that you can endure as a driver.
Kennedy had a pretty significant concussion from that, was able to get medically cleared, actually raced here in his heat race last week with the World of Outlaws on Friday night, and then when the rain came, decided to kind of shut it down for the week.
Yeah, once that rain came, the track got so fast. You have to be on top of your game. The track right now is a little slower, so you can kind of handle it. You don't need, you know, perfect vision. But when the track's that fast, you can't have any minute problems.
Another update on Shane Romling with Jay Elson. All right, we thought we had Jay. We'll try to catch him here in just a minute. There's a look at Greg Nikotenko, who is your current leader. Nick Amdahl will slide up to second place with Romling, unable to finish after the wreck. And Casey Mack all the way up to third from his 8th starting spot.
Look for a quick slide job from Nick Amdahl in the 0 car in second. If he can get a good start, he'll try to put on a slide job in turn 1 and 2 here.
Nikotenko quickly, here comes Casey Mack to the inside. He tries to put a move on Amdahl. And a slide job, and Amdahl working around the bottom, but Casey Mack all the way up to second. Here comes Trent Stengel around the bottom, trying to work around Eglin, and he's got 4th.
Now Casey Mack, after that slide job, sets his sights on the leader.
Eglin trying to work around Stengel. They almost got together in the front stretch. The 7 and 26. And Eglin's got 4th place back. Nikotenko continues to lead. Casey Mack trying to reel him in second place. Has a lead of just over a second is Nikotenko.
Pretty good battle going on here for 4th and 5th.
Stengel has worked around Eglin now and has pulled out to a little bit of a lead. Nikotenko continues to be the fastest car on the track. 12.5 seconds that last lap, which was best. And Greg Nikotenko, one more turn to take home the Buffalo Wild Wings checkered flag, and he is your winner of heat race number 3. Casey Mack, an impressive drive up to second, followed by Amdahl and Trent Stengel. Nikotenko, the veteran, started on the pole, took advantage of it. As Trevor Mell comes home 7th in the 27X. That will do it for your sprint car heats. And that will bring us to our intermission here at River City Speedway. We'll be back with more from the legendary Bull Ring here in Grand Forks, North Dakota, here on Midco Sports Network. There's a look at the Grand Forks County Fair just behind us here on the Grand Forks County Fairgrounds. Nice crowd, pleasant evening, sun came out, rain stayed away. That makes for a very fun night for us. We were watching the radar all week long, weren't we, Chris?
Yeah, it's you never know when you have a live event like this and you're waiting for the radar to show up, you know, positive. And when we had the cloud cover today, a little nerve-wracking.
But we got her done. As they take a look and do some track prep, you kind of see them grading it up a little bit. Chris, what exactly are they doing here?
Well, the the cultivator, they're cultivating the top of the track. They're trying to get another groove up on top. As you could tell in the last couple of races, everybody moved up to the top. So we're trying to make that top a little more cushion up on top. They're adding a little water just to kind of keep the moisture in the track. The track was really bluing off. It was really turning into a dry slick. The longer you wait with the dry slick, it'll eat up the tires. Tires lose the rubber from the tire, goes to the track. All of a sudden you get a rubber down track, and it is follow the leader after that.
Take a look at your Acme equipment. NOSA Sprint Heat 3 results. Greg Nikotenko taking home the checkered flag. Casey Mack coming from 8th to 2nd. Nick Amdahl from East Grand Forks in 3rd, followed by Trent Stengel, Blake Eglin, John Sorensen, Trevor Mell, and of course Shane Romling after going topsy-turvy in that 3rd heat race. 4 feature events coming up for you, starting with the Legends as they continue to sprinkle down the water here and get some moisture on this track. As Chris had mentioned, working both the high and the low right now. We got a couple of graders out there as Romling tries to put this piece back together. How bad does that look? Well, we'll find out here in a little bit. That front wing, that top wing, all going to need to be replaced. You see a couple of different guys working on it. We'll see if they can get her back together here for the feature event. He does have some time to do that. It is the last race of the night. So we'll see if Shane Ronlin can get back in for the feature. Donnie Schatz back in town last week, was hoping to run a pair of shows in North Dakota, was here in Grand Forks, was able to finish 3rd place after the 3-hour rain delay, and then of course Saturday in Fargo at Red River Valley Speedway, that got rained out, that got rescheduled for August 19th. But we had a chance to catch up with Donnie Schatz, the 8-time World of Outlaw champion, in his shop in West Fargo. All right, here with the 8-time World of Outlaw champion, Donnie Schatz, in his shop here in West Fargo. And Donnie, when you started this shop, there wasn't a whole lot around here, and now there's all sorts of things that have come up around here. It's crazy, first of all, how this community has grown since you came out to this area.
Yeah, it has. It's grown quite a bit. I remember coming home from Australia in about 2001 or 2002, and came home for Christmas, and we found this place, and it was a gravel road. There was nothing around it. And it was in the country. Now it's pretty well surrounded by homes and parks and everything. So it's great to see how West Fargo's expanded.
And, you know, I was looking at preparing for the interview and kind of looking at some of your stats. And 21 years now on the World of Outlaws Tour. You're not an old guy by any stretch yet. You're not even 40 yet. But has that gone fast, those years? Have they flown by or haven't they?
Oh, they've flown by. It seems like the more you get along, the more fun you have, the quicker it goes. So it seems like, you know, I know I've been around a while, but it's probably aged me a little bit more than what I actually am. But it's been a lot of fun, but it has gone by really quick.
Your 25th win at Knoxville not that long ago here, and that's kind of been a special track. Obviously it is. It's the home of the sprint car capital of the world. It's got the museum and the Hall of Fame and everything. That's a special place. 25 wins. What a remarkable run. Do you ever let yourself reflect on that at all?
You try not to. You try to not get caught up in the emotions of what this sport brings you. I mean, after a race is over, you might, but you know, we got some big races coming up there in a month or two, so you don't want to get too wrapped up in that. And you know, when you do this 95 nights a year, and it's your passion, you know, you don't get caught up in the emotions and statistics along the way. You just enjoy it while you can. And you know, there's a lot of people that aren't as fortunate to be able to do that, so appreciate everything you have.
Yeah, and I think for you too, Don, Red River Valley Speedway, a chance to stay home a little bit for a weekend in North Dakota. I know Red River Valley Speedway in particular has some particular meaning for you because it was the first place you ran a World of Outlaw race when you were just 15 years old. Your family operated that track for a while, and good to see you racing back at that track.
Absolutely. It's North Dakota in general. You know, Red River Valley Speedway was a place I got to go a lot on Friday nights, you know, cutting my teeth in these type of cars, and the atmosphere that it had and the excitement, and for it to still be there, it's incredible. But the state of North Dakota has a huge presence with the World of Outlaws and always has. So just great to be a part of it. Glad to be from here.
The late model behind me, you kind of see it. You love racing that late model. You go up to Grand Forks and race that thing whenever you get the opportunity. And be kind of doing the double duty, you know, in North Dakota like you have in the past. And what is it about the late model and the sprint car? I mean, those are obviously two very different ways of driving and two very different cars.
I think it's just something different. You know, when you become a professional racer and that's what you do for a living, you get to the point where you feel like you have to keep trying to stay on top of things and try to progress your driving styles and all that. And this car behind me is probably one of the toughest cars to try to drive. You know, all that aero, all them coil springs, and the way the suspension is configured. It's a very sophisticated car, but man, they get them hooked up and they go. So when I got the opportunity to do it at the Prelude to the Dream for Tony Stewart several years ago, it was like getting on a horse and getting bucked off. You know, you don't let the horse win. You're going to get back on and try again. So we got that opportunity to go do a little late model racing. And more than anything, I just love going racing. You know, I might do this for a living, but yet I still like to go and play around and get that opportunity. And it's really hard to do that with the sprint car. You know, I used to have a sprint car I could do that with, and it upset people to go because I do it professionally and I, you know, show up. So you get in something that you don't do professionally and you don't do that often, and there's a lot of great people around our sport. So they've welcomed me with open arms and glad to be a part of it.
Absolutely. And quickly on your season, double-digit wins for the 6th straight year. You know, I know it's not easy, Donnie. I know sometimes you make it look easy, but it's one of those things. It is a constant grind, but to continue to be on top of this sport, I've had several guys that have driven sprint cars say, winning a World of Outlaw race is the toughest thing to win. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. It's very tough. You know, people don't understand. Like we just did this week, a Kyle Larson NASCAR star comes in and wins a World of Outlaw race in awesome fashion. And people don't realize that it's probably easier for someone like him to come and do that than it is to stay out here every day and compete for a championship. because you don't get to go home and reload your trailer after every race and take a couple weeks off. It's race to race to race to race. So when you get the beat down going on and you're not doing good, you don't get to go hit the reset button like these guys that come and hit and miss here and there and go and come as they please. It's hotel to hotel, work through the problems, work with your team, try to build, try to progress. It compounds that problem 10 times worse. So, you know, that's what being with a great race team like these guys, they're very good at that, and they make us look very good, like we're on top of our game. And it's been a great year. You look at the wins, we've had 10 Outlaw wins, a couple All-Star wins. It looks all good, but man, for 2 months we feel like we've kind of had our feet and our knees on the ground, and we got to get back out of that stage. So we're working hard to fix that.
Well, thanks so much for the time, Donnie. We appreciate it, and best wishes to you in the future. We'll see you down the road at a couple of races, too.
Thank you.
All right, thanks so much for Donnie Schatz sitting down with us as the sprint cars continue to work on their vehicles, get them ready here. Tanner Wisk, he's lost a right rear. Got to get a new one on there for the feature event coming up here a little bit later here on Midco SN. They continue track prep. We'll be back with more from the Grand Forks Fairgrounds coming up. Rusty Wallace coming up live. Yeah, the World of Outlaw late models actually coming here to River City Speedway next month, and Rusty Wallace will be in town on Friday, July 14th at Acme Tools from 2:30 to 3:30. 55 NASCAR wins. That's pretty cool, Chris.
That is pretty cool, having a NASCAR driver come to Grand Forks, North Dakota, and he will be signing autographs from 2:30 to 3:30. Come on down to Acme Tools and meet a NASCAR driver.
Be pretty cool, and a guy that does a lot of what we're doing right now as a NASCAR analyst for a lot of the major networks, and a guy that's very, very knowledgeable about the sport. Does a nice job explaining that to us lay people that try to understand NASCAR as well. Great to see you all once again as they continue to track prep here and watering it down, grading it up a little bit. And the Legends will be the first group out here for the feature races. And Shop Talk, that's something you and I had a chance to sit down and do and learn more about not only sprint cars, but also late models. Dustin Strand, a good friend of ours, welcomed us into his shop so we could learn a little bit more about what makes a late model a late model. All right, back for another edition of Shop Talk, and we are in the shop of Dustin Strand, who is the 2016 Wayzata National Champion on the late model. Chris Schierick also joins me, our Midco SN racing analyst. And Chris, I know sprint cars were kind of your forte. I asked you about late models. You didn't know a heck of a lot about late models, which is why we're bringing Dustin in to explain it a little bit more.
Brought in Dustin here today.
So, all right, so let's get into it a little bit, Chris. What do you want to know about a late model?
Well, Dustin, what makes a late model a late model?
Well, I guess these are all full tubular chassis race cars, full body, as you can see, full fendered race car, 2,300 pounds. That's our weight rule at the end of the race. We got a 360 cubic inch engine in it, aluminum headed engine. 90% of them are Chevrolets, but there's also, you know, whatever. There's no limitations on that. You can have whatever brand you're partial to.
Okay. What do you got for like aerodynamics? I see you got a big nose on this. You got the spoiler on the back. Can you kind of do a little bit on the aerodynamics of this?
Yeah,
this
the aerodynamics are a pretty huge part of these cars. As you can see, the whole front end is everything's pretty smooth and aerodynamic. We got the nose down as low as we can go. Actually, the front of the car, we actually have up about a foot on the right side, because as you roll through the corner, these cars are really pinned down on the right front. And kind of the goal is to keep this whole nose sealed off to the racetrack as best we can. Of course, the tracks we race on aren't always perfectly smooth, so they can't be right on the ground like a pavement car, but we try to get them as close as we can, I guess.
Yep. And speaking of that, I know there's times you never want to have damage occurred to your race car. I noticed sometimes we get a little too high coming out of a corner and you bust up that right rear spoiler. I noticed you have some fins in there. They're kind of offset. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, we actually make that wing in two pieces now. So yeah, like you say, if you do get too close to the wall or another car, that little piece breaks away and you still have 75% of your wing, because that's a huge part of the handling of the race car, that wing on the back. I actually had one night, I didn't know it, but I had gotten up against the wall on a restart, and after that the car just had no forward drive, and whenever we come in, well, the whole wing was tore off, and that was the reason. So now we got it kind of figured out we got a little breakaway panel over there, so in theory, hopefully just that little section breaks away and you can keep on racing.
That's perfect.
And I know, Dustin, if you do sustain some damage, how long does it take you as a driver, not fully knowing exactly what's wrong with the car, to try to figure out how am I going to drive this thing around the track?
Well, if you get the front end wrecked on one of these, I mean, as far as the bumper or the nose piece, you're going to know it immediately. There's probably really no fixing that. You know, as far as the wing or something like that, yeah, a guy could maybe try to drive it different to make things handle or whatever, but it probably isn't going to work like it did before.
All right, that's Dustin Strand. That's more than enough that you need to know about a late model. Thanks so much to Dustin Strand for having us in his shop. We'll have more Shop Talk segments coming up on Midco Motorsports, which can be seen Thursdays at 7 p.m. on Midco Sports Network. Beautiful evening. Folks enjoying the races, out for the fair. We'll be back with more of our intermission report coming up here on Midco SA. Back here at River City Speedway. Feature events getting set to take the green flag here in just a little bit. Our trackside pit reporter, Jay Elson, has a report for us, Jay.
Yeah, Brian, thanks a lot. I got a chance to talk to a couple of guys back in the pits after their initial heat races. First and foremost, Thomas Kennedy, as you guys mentioned, back in the 82 car tonight, not his normal 21K, but he dominated his heat race, much like Chris Ranton did. I spoke about him a little bit earlier, but Kennedy said he used a little different terminology when talking about the track than Ranton did. He said it was very abrasive, and that if they didn't fix it or address that during this intermission time, that he was a little worried that it might rubber down tonight. And so he said there were some minor adjustments he might make one way or the other, but for the most part, he was happy, obviously, with how the car ran. But he kind of said that word, abrasive, over and over and over again. But just to go to show you that sometimes these guys don't always see eye to eye on what they like out on the racetrack. Talked to Brad Sang, of course, a late model legend here at River City Speedway. And Brad said he thought it was going to be really racy. He liked the track a lot. Said he had his initial setup really kind of dialed in, really liked the way he was going to go out. He saw him farming it out before that first late model heat race. Went back, changed a couple of things, said that hurt him during his heat race. So he's going back to his initial setup for this feature tonight, and he thinks that's the way to go. So time will tell. But just goes to show you, sprint car guys, late model guys don't always agree on what's the best racetrack, right, Chris?
2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Yeah, me personally, I like a track where you have a groove on the bottom and you got a groove up on top where you can bang the right rear up on the cushion and dry slick in the middle. And like Thomas did say, it was getting abrasive. The drier the track gets, the more abrasive the track gets. So I can see how Chris Ranton enjoyed the track. He was in one of the first heats, and Thomas Kennedy was in the second heat. The track was drying out. The track was getting drier and drier, more abrasive.
All right, we'll see how they continue to set them up as they continue to work on the race cars for our Northern Outlaw Sprint Association feature coming up in a little bit here. But we got way more action to come. The Legends will be up first, followed by the Lightning Sprints, and then the Wayzata late models will follow as well. Legends coming on the track will have their feature events coming up next for you here on Midco Sports Network. Back here getting set for your Legends starting feature, and here's your starting grid brought to you by Danos Marine. Sean Erickson, Alex Bracet from Glendon and Hewlin respectively on the front row. Scott Richardson and Dylan Johnson on row 2. Brody Carlson inside of row 3 from Moorhead. Tim Estenson outside of row 3 from Fargo, just 15 years old. Ryan Bracet, Troy Hoff will be in row 4. Row 5 will be Brandon Erickson and Tony Brockhouse. And your final starter is Ty Wilkie for your Legend feature. Here's a look at the 14T of Tim Estenson.
Yeah, Tim Estenson from Fargo, North Dakota is 15 years old. He's got 13 top 5 finishes this year. 8 of them are wins. Finished 4th in the 2017 Dakota Legends Tour.
And he is your home of economy, Chris's car report as we get set. And they will start this time by 10 of them out there, so someone is missing the call. And I think that may be the 72 of Wilkie that was not able to get out for this feature event. 10 cars, 10 laps. Bring him to the line is Erickson and Braceth. And we're underway in your Legends feature. Flying into turn 1. And out of the chute, it's Braceth that leads. Quickly into second is Dylan Johnson, the 5D8. Johnson going high. Tim Estenson now into third as they continue to race down the backstretch. Hestinson looking for second. You already see the track, a little more moisture. You can see it here, Chris.
Yeah, a little more moisture on the bottom, and Tim is utilizing that bottom groove, and he's wasting no time.
And how about the 86 passing 2 cars there through turns 1 and 2. Nice job by Troy Hoff. 4 cars battling for the lead. Hoff takes the lead away. He is your new leader as he sneaks by Braceth.
And Hoff started in the 8th position, so he's got his car working very well.
Estenson into second. Here comes Johnson as well in the 3rd position. Estenson goes high, up on the cushion.
Looks like we have
We do have a caution. We have a car around and over there in turn number 2.
Number 29.
That is Brandon Erickson. Troy Hoff, your current leader from Flasher, North Dakota, southwest of Bismarck.
Now these Legend cars, they utilize a Delaware-style restart. The leader can choose either the top or the bottom, and then they have to line up double file after the leader. So the leader can take off anywhere between turn 3 and turn 4. And once the leader takes off, it is open green and everybody can start racing. You can't pass the leader until the leader takes off.
Troy Hoff from Flasher. Take a look at his season so far. Finished second on the 2017 Dakota Legends Tour. 10 top 5 finishes this year and 7 wins. And there's a look at the young man. 4 straight races in May that he won. So that off to a really good start this year. And we are underway on the restart with 5 laps to go. Estenson high. Going low was Johnson, and Johnson takes away second. Good race there in the middle between Estenson and Johnson. Troy Hoff a half-second lead.
And the bottom looks like it's the way to go. There's still a lot of moisture on the bottom. The bottom looks like the fast way around right now.
Braceth has moved back into 4th place. Now Estenson will head low. As you mentioned, Chris, that seems to be where the leaders have found the most moisture and the best speed. Hoff continues to lead. And turn 3, we had a car around. They're going to keep the green out. It looks like they will. That was actually the pole sitter, Sean Erickson from Glendon, that got around, but kept the car going and will stay green. Hoff continues to lead comfortably. He has stretched out that lead to over a second now over Dylan Johnson. Estenson continues to come in 3rd. It's really turned into a 3-horse race here down the stretch. Estenson got a good run off of 2. He's going to try to take second away. Johnson closes the door. Now Estenson lost it a little bit coming into turn 3. A little glossy out there in turn 3 a little bit too, isn't it, Chris?
Yep, the bottom's starting to slow down a little bit. You'll notice more and more cars will start to utilize the top. Top will start to get a little faster than the bottom, but as of right now, the bottom still got a little bit of moisture in it, where the cars are able to stick the bottom and roll the bottom real well.
Hoff continues to lead. It does look like Johnson has cut into that lead a little bit. The lead down to just 0.7 of a second. So some ground has been made up there by Dylan Johnson on Troy Hoff. Here comes the Buffalo Wild Wings checkered flag, and Hoff is going to hold on. Johnson second, Estenson third. The 79 of Scott Richardson will take home fourth, followed by Alex Braceth, Brody Carlsrud, Ryan Braceth, Tony Brockhouse, Brandon Erickson, Sean Erickson, and Ty Wilkie, who was unable to make the call here in this Legends feature. So Hoff comes up with another victory. As we mentioned, he's off to a really good start, won a bunch of races in May. His 8th win of the year. He'll get out of that little car, and you see there's really not much to those Legends, Chris. When you look around, I mean, the car is really built right around the driver. I tried to get into Estenson's car a couple of weeks ago when I was up at his shop, and I couldn't do it.
Well, you are a tall man. These, as you can see, the drivers that are standing, or the officials that are standing next to the car, you know, they are towering over the car. When he steps out of the car, you'll see how tall he is.
So Troy Hoff, your feature winner. Trackside announcer will grab a quick word with him. Then Jay Elson will get him to talk a little bit. You know, one thing I think we talked about, Chris, is how the track is going to change, and there's still a lot of laps to be run on this track. That's just the first feature. We still got to run the late model feature before the NOSA sprints, and then certainly the lightning sprints will also blow off a little bit of this moisture that we've seen dropped into the track as well. Yeah, and
you'll see the lightning sprints. I feel they're going to run the bottom for the first half of the race until it starts to wear out, and then they'll start moving to the top, and then it'll be a 2-lane racetrack, you know, for the late models and the sprint cars.
Let's take a look at your Legends feature result, brought to you by Acme Equipment. Hoff, your winner,
hey, Troy,
Johnson, Estenson, Scott Richardson, Alex Braceth, and the rest of your field to round out the top 10. Jay Elson is standing by with the victorious Troy Hoff.
All right, Troy, started 8th for the feature, and you got up to the front real quick. How'd you do it?
Oh, the way my car is set up, I love these wet, tacky tracks. You know, we were a little loose in the heat, and we adjusted some air pressures and some other things for the feature, and the car worked great, and we got her done today.
Once you got out front, was it as simple as just hitting your marks?
Yeah, the mark was a little hard to hit, but if I hit it right, it felt good, and I didn't hear any cars behind me, so I knew I was comfortable, and it went really well.
A lot of people that helped put you in this position tonight, though, right?
Yeah, I want to thank Lawrence Hoff and L&T Seed and Chemical Sales and all my friends and family for supporting me.
All right, congratulations again, Troy Hoff, your Legends winner here at River City Speedway tonight. Brian?
Thanks so much, Jay. We'll take a quick break and be back with your second feature of the night. That'll be the lightning sprints. 17 of them on hand here at River City Speedway. Stay tuned for that coming up here on Midco Sports Network. Lightning sprints getting set for their feature event as they enter the staging area and onto the track. As we take a look at your starting lineup, brought to you by Danos Marine. Kelsey Peterson and Brandon Johnson on the front row. Dexter Bergston, Presley Truthson from Kennedy, Minnesota in row 2. Eric Johnson, Alan Truzinski in the third row. Kevin Thomas Sr. and Alex Truzinski from Greenbush, Minnesota on the outside of row 4. Zachary Kwiatkowski from Grand Forks, Josh Abrahamson, Berg, Mullen, and Brody Hutton will start 13th. Mark Williams on the outside of row 7. Brett Schmiedberg, Lawrence Bellerud, 71 years young, on the inside of row 8. And Parker Monroe, your final starter from Grand Forks. And here's a look at your home of economy car reports. The 2T of Presley Truthson.
Presley is in her second year of mini sprints and 5.5 years racing. She's utilizing a Henchcraft chassis with a Yamaha engine. She's got 1 win so far this year, and she has 1 career win here at River City Speedway.
All right, thanks so much. That's your home of economy car report. And these mini sprints, Chris, when you talk about the engine, these things are just motorcycle engines, right?
That's what they utilize here. They're a 4-cylinder motorcycle engine. some drivers have Hondas, some drivers have Suzukis, some drivers have Yamahas. It personal preference, and then sometimes it's whatever motorcycle you can find.
So we're getting set for the green flag on our second feature of the evening. Kelsey Peterson, Brandon Johnson will take him to the green flag as they enter turn 3 and into turn 4. And we are underway with our lightning sprint feature events. Peterson will lead heading into turn 1. On the high side is Brandon Johnson from Holt, Minnesota, but how about the start there from Bergston? Four car of Eric Johnson up a spot into 4th. They continue to jostle for position. Peterson still continues to lead. A lead of just over a second. Bergston into 2nd, trying to reel in the leader. The 9 car of Kevin Thomas has moved up to 4th, continuing to run on the low side and almost takes away 4th place that time from Johnson, and we do have a caution. The car is around in turn 3, I believe.
11M of Mullen.
Yeah, Brendan Mullen from Grand Forks. You know, these mini sprints are obviously smaller than a sprint car, but all the other features are almost identical to a sprint car. It's hard to believe they're just miniaturized that much.
Yeah, it basically is a mini sprint.
Take a look here, just got a little bit loose coming out of turn 1 into turn 2 and lost the handle, and with that, Mullen will have to tag the back of the field.
And I was going to talk to you about, so Tyler Huff in the last race had mentioned in Victory Lane he was listening for drivers, or listening for the cars behind him. You do a lot of driving when you're in the lead because you don't have rear view mirrors, you don't have any way to see how far the cars are behind you. So you do a lot of driving off of shadows from the sun, or you listen to the driver's cars behind you. And when you don't hear anybody, you know you got a good distance. If you hear a car on your right side, you know they're above you. If you hear a car on your left side, you know they're below you. You can kind of judge by the sounds how close the next car behind you is.
It's not like these cars have rear view mirrors. It's not like you can see who's behind you. I mean, you really got to be aware of your surroundings, you know, for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah, you use a lot of different ways, creative ways to find out who's behind you, how close they are next to you. And it's not just hold it to the floor and go. You got to use your head a little bit.
Almost a 6th sense. That was your first Dakota Cat caution of this lightning sprint feature. Peterson was off to a really good start. Had stretched out her lead to almost a 1.5 seconds over Dexter Bergston. Peterson, another strong start. She'll stay low. Bergston trying to reel her in. 12 laps to go. 15 laps in this mini sprint feature.
Eric Johnson, one of the first cars to try the top side. It seems to be working in 3 and 4, but 1 and 2, it looks like the bottom is still a little bit quicker.
Good drive so far for the 9 car of Kevin Thomas, up from 9th to 3rd. Peterson continues to lead. Just 0.4 of a second is the lead right now for Peterson. Lap traffic could come into play here in just a couple of laps. The 24 of Schneidberg will be the first car that Peterson has to deal with. Peterson had to slow up just a little bit, and that allowed Bergston to get even closer, looking for the lead. Peterson a little high coming out of turn 4, 5 laps to go. Lap traffic, Peterson got into the back of a lap car. That was Williams. Bergston has an opening. Peterson continues to lead, closing the door. What are you looking for here, Chris? If you're trying to lead, holding off that second place car, not easy.
When you can see second place's front nose ring, all of a sudden you don't try to listen for the car, you're just going, trying to pick off one car at a time. It's almost better in this situation to be in second place because you know where the first place guy is.
Eric Johnson also trying to move into third place. Kevin Thomas Sr. continues to lead. Bergston trying to get underneath again. Peterson right on her heel. White flag is out. Can Peterson hold on one more lap? Bergson got a little bit high and slid to the high part of the track, and Peterson is going to lead wire to wire for your Buffalo Wild Wings checkered flag. She is your Lightning Sprint winner. Bergson comes home second. Kevin Thomas was third, followed by Eric Johnson. Presley Trudson comes home fifth, and then Brandon Johnson and Alan Trusinski. So how about Kelsey Peterson? That was a pretty good race for the lead there throughout. Bergson continued to put on pressure, just couldn't quite find a groove to get by on the inside.
Yeah, she put on a heck of a show, and she was protecting the bottom. That's what she had to do to win the race, and she got it done. She'll definitely have some pointers for her dad, Joey Peterson, in the late model later tonight.
Yeah, Joey Peterson, he's been running a long time too, must run in the blood.
It's got to.
Some of the folks in sweatshirts, it's unseasonably cool here in late June. Going to get in the low 50s here tonight before it's all said and done. 2 events remain. Next will be your NLRA late models, 21 cars on the track for that, followed by a full house for your NOSA sprints.
Of course, her mother, a former street stock and super stock racer. Her dad, of course, racing the late model with 7P, Joey Peterson. And let's get your winner.
There is Kelsey Peterson. She looks pretty excited. Just a youngster. 17 cars in your Lightning Sprints, and here is your Acme Tools Lightning Sprint feature results. Peterson first. Boy, how about the drive there from Bergson? Did a nice job. Kevin Thomas Sr. all the way up to third. Eric Johnson fourth. Presley Trudson started fourth, came home fifth. Brandon Johnson sixth. The two Strusinskis, Alan and Alex, go seventh and eighth respectively. Brody Hutton and then Zachary Wiat. Rounding out your top 10 on your Lightning Sprints feature results here at River City Speedway. Jay Elson will catch a quick word with Kelsey Peterson in just a moment. And now Jay is standing by with Kelsey Peterson.
All right, Kelsey, wire-to-wire win for you tonight, but it was anything but easy. Did you feel the 11 car behind you there?
Yeah, I did. A few times saw him coming left side of me, and I got a little nervous going into lap traffic, but kept hitting my marks and pulled it off.
Made a little contact with one of the back markers there. How'd you hold it?
Yeah, a little bit. I got kind of nervous, just hit the brakes, tried to keep it straight, and worked out well.
Who helped you get here tonight?
My dad, my grandparents, everyone who comes to support me. My brother, who wasn't racing tonight, but he's always a big help during the week.
All right, well, congratulations, Kelsey. Kelsey Peterson, your Lightning Sprints winner tonight here at Best Dirt Track.
She's going to have that smile on her face, I think, for at least the next week or two. Congratulations to Kelsey Peterson coming away with the victory here in the feature of the Lightning Sprints. The late models are coming up next. Stay tuned for more action here on Midco SN. Back here at River City Speedway, the sun is setting, the lights are on, and we're getting set for our NLRA late model feature event. 21 cars on the starting grid for tonight's main event. Brought to you by Danos Marine. On the front row, Troy Schill and Bill Mooney from Selkirk, Manitoba. Shane Eddington from East St. Paul, along with Ryan Corbett from East Grand Forks. Ricky Weiss from near the Winnipeg area, also in Manitoba, and Brad Singh The veteran from Grand Forks will start on the outside of row 3. Zach Nosted won his feature race, an impressive faction from Northwood. We'll start on the inside of row 4 with another veteran, Mike Balkin, from up in Winnipeg. Dustin Strand, the 2016 Wayzata National Champion, and Stephen Snare, will make up the 5th rows. Steve Anderson, Joey Peterson. See if Joey has the same magic his daughter had just a couple of moments ago. He'll be in row 6. Mike Martin and Travis Robertson will make up the 7th row. Cody Storbakken and Brody Troftgruben from Grand Forks will make up row number 8. The 45-year vet from East Grand Forks, Tom Corcoran, in the 17th spot to start with Terry Blacklance, Scott Blintz, Brandon Fuller, and Nicholas Minsky will round out your starting field for your NLRA late models here tonight. And Brad Singh in the number 12 car has been doing this a long time, and he is our home of economy car report. Chris?
Brad Sang is utilizing an MB chassis, that's Mars Brothers chassis. He's got a 360 steel block aluminum head Pro Power engine. It uses about 650 horsepower in that.
Wow. 25 years. I just talked to him before. How long have you been doing this? 25 years. He said some things to me I can't repeat on air, but it was pretty funny talking to him as he shook his head and he couldn't believe how fast the years had gone by. But one of the good guys up here in Grand Forks. We always enjoy talking to him.
Yeah, I can remember Brad Sang in the X car when he used to run the Super Stocks. That was about 5 to 10 years before I started racing.
That says something. And if you're wondering about the delay, too, as the late models are coming on the track, a bunch of the crew members have been out looking and picking up glass outside of turn 2. And I'm not a race car expert, but glass and tires don't mix well.
They do not, especially, coming out of a corner. It doesn't take much to drop a tire, to cut a tire, and you do not want a tire to go down at the speeds that they're going to be going.
So here comes those NLRA late models. And there's a look at Troy Schill from Thompson, North Dakota, as they continue to dig up and look for glass in that turn 2 area coming out of turn 2 towards the backstretch. Had 8 or 9 guys, even Thomas Kennedy. A couple of the drivers in the sprint car feature were out there picking up glass.
Yeah,
of course, that's in their best interest as well.
Exactly, I was just going to mention that. It's everybody's interest to clean up the track, because even if they don't get it all today, or the Lightning Sprints guys, if they don't get it today, they got to race on this track tomorrow, and that might come up tomorrow and tear down their car.
Chris, now the sun has kind of gone down, cooler temperatures, how does the track change now at this point?
Typically, the moisture will come up from the track unless it's sealed over. If you notice, the center of the track is starting to blue off. It's starting to dry slick. That is sealed over, but the bottom still has some moisture and the very top has some moisture. That should stay there the rest of the night because of the cool temperatures and because of the sun going down.
The World Outlaw feature that pushed off at 12:06 a.m. after the rain delay. Really, so much water fell on the track. They did a marvelous job getting this track ready. I mean, I never thought in a million years they'd be able to race after that. They were able to. But what turned into what essentially was a one-group track. Everybody pretty much ran the same way around because it was the fastest way around, and they never got to 2 groups because of all that rain.
Yeah, and it actually says something about the track and the maintenance that the track does. The track was not rough. As wet as it was and as fast as it was, it stayed fairly smooth. It wasn't rough. It wasn't a rodeo. It was very impressive to see what River City Speedway did with the track.
Let's take a look at the late model standings here at River City Speedway. Brad Sang leading Joey Peterson by just 6 points. Mike Balkin, Dustin Strand. The top 5, it is a really tight race so far, but it's still pretty young in the season.
It's very young in the season. Anything can happen. I mean, you have one bad weekend, that's 3 races, 2 to 3 races. That'll throw you out of the points.
We should mention there's a double feature for the NLRA late models next week. Now, they were rained out last week. They just ran the sprint cars. Late model feature was canceled, so they will run double features. Donnie Schatz is actually going to be up here racing late models and will also be racing a sprint car next week with the NOSA Sprints, and the Midwest Mods and Street Stocks will be here. But what a treat for the fans here next Friday night for Donnie Schatz to be up here pulling double duty.
Yeah, it's always fun to see a professional driver like that racing late models or sprint cars or anything. It's always fun to see top talent come race against you.
One thing we should mention with Donnie Schatz, he loves racing his late model. We heard from him in our intermission when we had that sit down with him. He likes to play around. That's a car he can play around with. He has never, ever taken prize money for any of his finishes in the late models. That's not why he does it. He's not here to try to take money out of these local guys' pockets. He just wants to go have fun and race.
He's a racer like the rest of us. He just wants to have fun.
Take a look at your schedule here for the NLRA late models. Greenbush Race Park coming up here tomorrow night out in Minnesota, River City Speedway. We talked about the double features next week. Back to Greenbush, Devil's Lake, then down to Red River Valley Speedway in early August. Then up to Ada, Jamestown, Cheyenne River. That is a really busy week, the 2nd, 3rd, 5th, and 6th of August, before heading to the Red River Co-op Speedway and then back to River Cities on the 18th of August, which also happens to be the World of Outlaws, marking their return here to River City Speedway. We're getting set for the green flag. Schill and Mooney taking over the green flag. Three wide as the 4-car of Shane Eddington tried to make a run. Good run coming off the top that time for Bill Mooney, and he is your leader. The 4-car of Shane Eddington is into second as we have completed 2 laps here on our late model feature event. The 7-car of Ricky Weiss has moved up to third, and he is hot on the heels of Eddington. Weiss into second. Here comes Balkin all the way up to 5th.
Lap traffic already a factor in this race.
And Mooney had to do some fancy driving to wheel around Nicholas Minsky as Minsky's car continues to struggle turning in turn 3 and 4. Mooney's lead, 1.2 seconds. Weiss trying to reel him in. Balkin up to 4th. Balkin, the veteran, trying to pick off Schill. Also trying to get around Eddington. Weiss to the low side as Mooney continues to lead.
Got side-by-side lap traffic in front of the leaders.
Boy, Brad Singh, Balkin, and Schill battling for 4th, 5th, and 6th, and now Singh has passed Balkin as he continues to roll through turn 1 and 2, going to try to get Schill. He's into 4th. Mooney continues to lead, but Weiss has narrowed the gap to just 0.8 of a second. Lap traffic continuing to be an issue. 10 laps down as Mooney continues to weave through lap traffic. Weiss trying to keep pace. Weiss looks like he's made up some ground on Mooney. Spun the tires a little bit coming out of turn 4. Oh boy, Corcoran put on the brakes hard, and Ricky Weiss had to jam on the brakes even harder. We have a car around. Weiss was running second. And that was Minsky who lost it, and now we'll see how bad the damage is to Weiss's car, who was running second and looked to be reeling in the leader, just a half second back. It's a Dakota Cat caution, our first here in the late model main event. 12 laps down, 8 to go. Sang up to 12, Balkin are up to 4th. Balkin 5th, Dustin Strand 6th, Joey Peterson 7th. Shane Eddington continues to hold on to that 3rd spot from East St. Paul, Manitoba. Take another look at it. Saw Minsky just lost the handle, and Weiss just could not avoid him. And you see the damage there to the right side of the front there on Weiss. Don't know how bad that nose wing was damaged, Chris. And that, we talked to Dustin Strand about the importance of that piece right there. That can really throw a car off as you're throwing that thing hard into the turns.
Yeah, it didn't look like a lot of damage, but it that little bit could have bent a tie rod or you know, bent anything really on the inside. And like we've been stressing the whole broadcast here, any little thing can throw these cars off. These cars are so close nowadays that it's going to be very tough for Ricky to come from the back to the front and have a shot at winning this thing with only a couple laps to go.
Bill Mooney, by the way, was really driving well through lap traffic. It seemed like there was a couple times Weiss would pull him in and then he'd make a maneuver to get a little bit of distance. And now it's going to be up to Eddington and Sang and Balkin and Strand back there, along with Peterson. You have some drivers behind them that certainly know how to win a race. It should be a final fun 8 laps. Will Weiss get his starting position back just for avoiding that caution? It really wasn't his fault. Do you know that?
I don't believe so. I believe once they stop, they're part of the caution. They go to the tail end of the field.
Well, Weiss is going to get his starting position back in second, so that...
I have been corrected.
That's huge. Car looks to be handling okay.
I was just going to mention that. We'll see how the car handles here.
Oh, there is some significant damage, though, to the front part of that machine. When you're talking about aerodynamics, that can play a factor on the downforce. You throw that right tire hard into the turn, right, Chris?
Yeah, that little bit may pull the front end up. He may not have very much front drive on the car to steer the car, so he'll have to drive the car a little bit different. It'll all play out. We'll find out.
Eddington, a good start. Mooney continues to ride the high side of the track. Sang into fourth. Here comes Balkin. Weiss to the bottom side. Takes back the second position from Eddington as they go back and forth. And we have a melee in turn 4 as a couple of cars are around. And that will bring out the caution. Another Dakota Cat caution.
And that was probably the best thing that could have happened for Ricky Weiss. He had a lap to kind of feel out the car, see what he needed to do. He's going to restart in the same position. So now he knows on the start what the car is going to do, how it's going to react. He made a couple hard laps, or a couple hard corners.
And Troffgruben was caught up in that mess, along with the 1S of Scott Blintz. Certainly looks like Blintz is going to be okay, and yet to see if Troffgruben will be able to continue. He's still stopped in turn 4. Looks like he's getting that machine underway. A look at the late model week-by-week winners here at River City Speedway. The legendary Bull Ring, Bill Mooney, Brad Sink, Joey Peterson, Dustin Strand a couple weeks, and then Zach Nostad. All these guys are what we're seeing here, the first 3 rows of this feature that have worked themselves into a position to see if they can't come up with a victory here tonight. Of course, we talked about the rain out last Friday night. They did get their heat races in, and they will run that feature next Friday night. So good night to come out to the races with Donnie Schatz here. And there's a look at Nostad.
Yeah, the late model drivers, the cars just don't like to run a track that's very heavy, very wet. So when we had a lot of rain last week, they, as a group, decided not to run. They very well could have, but you risk wrecking a lot of equipment. And when you can just race next week, it's that much easier to just say, we'll race next week, do a double feature, and throw away this week.
And that's a lot of laps for these cars too, but at the same time, some drivers like the heavy track, other drivers like the dry slick, so maybe you get a best of both worlds.
Yeah, some drivers like the heavier tracks. The younger drivers usually like the heavier tracks. They're a little more in shape.
Harder on the shoulders, I'm guessing, for some of the guys in their 50s and 60s.
Yeah, it goes to show drivers that have been out here for, 10, 15, 20, 25 years, how good these guys are in shape, how they can drive so hard for that many years.
So 8 laps to go. We did not get a lap completed. So Mooney leads, Weiss on the inside, and Eddington on the outside. And here we go. Brad Sang got a good drive coming off of turn 2, and he slingshots into second place. Here comes Dustin Strand following him. Mooney continues to lead.
Back in the field, 4 wide.
Eddington back to 6th. Balkin battling for that 5th spot. Mooney still leads. Sang trying to reel him in. The lead is down to 6/10 of a second. Sang looks like he's making up a little ground. Strand right up behind Sang. Mooney to the low side. Strand stays high. Sang goes low.
Caution flag.
Caution is out with 3 laps to go. And someone went off the backside there, and that was the 55 of Mike Martin. Another Canadian that comes down here to race. Five Canadian drivers from Manitoba here in the field. Just jumped that cushion and went sliding to the back. That's never happened to you, has it, Chris?
I'd like to say it hasn't, but it definitely has.
You had mentioned 4 wide. That's what makes this track so unique, Chris. We talk about it, it's 3/10 of a mile. It's not real big, but as wide as it is, you can fit a lot of cars from the top to the bottom on this place.
Yeah, I mean, you can side by side, you can fit them. Racing side by side, you can fit 4 wide. I mean, this is one of the most unique tracks. Just how high banked it is, how the front stretch is fairly flat. The back stretch carries that high banking. It's a high speed oval that produces very close, tight racing. Single file here, under 5 laps to go.
Yeah, with under 5, you go single file. The double files go away. So Sang right on the back bumper of Mooney. We'll see if Brad can get him. He got a really good start. Mooney high, Sang low. Dustin Strand right there. Ricky Weiss still in the mix. Mooney continues to lead. Strand around the high side for second. White flag, 1 lap to go. And Bill Mooney, who started outside of row 1, faced some pressure, worked through lap traffic, and is going to come home for your Buffalo Wild Wings checkered flag. Strand second, Sang third, Balkin 4th. And Ricky Weiss able to battle and still come home 5th despite the damage caused from that 1 caution flag earlier in the race. Shane Eddington 6th with Joey Peterson and Ryan Corbett. Yeah, we had a fire down there on the infield.
Looks like Troy Schill spun it out in turn 1 on the white flag lap, and he was frantically waving.
They quickly, the fire crews got over there to douse that car. Looks like they're trying to open that thing up.
Yeah, you knew something was up because I believe Troy Schill was out of the car before the car was even completely stopped.
We get the 2 car for the 2nd time this year to the Rondell Marathon victory lane.
There's a look at Bill Mooney. He'll climb out of his number 2 car as we take a look at our final results brought to you by Acme Tools. Bill Mooney, Dustin Strand, a really good drive. Started 9th, came all the way up to 2nd, but ran out of laps. Brad Seng up to 3rd, Mike Balkin, along with Ricky Weiss, Shane Eddington, Joey Peterson, Ryan Corbett, Stephen Snare into 9th, along with Steve Anderson. That is your Acme Tools NLRA late model feature results. Pretty clean race, Chris. Well-driven race. Lap traffic came into play early on through the first 12 laps, and then enough caution spread out where Mooney didn't have to deal with a lot of that down the stretch.
Yeah, Mooney had a nice clean track, kind of about half the race, 3/4 of the race. And as a driver, that's what you hope for. You hope for timely cautions. As a fan, you're hoping for no cautions and lap traffic to play a little part in the finish. But as a driver, you definitely hope you can have a clean track in front of you, and Mooney made the most of it, and there he's sitting in victory lane.
And our Jay Elson is trackside in victory lane. We'll catch a word with Mooney to get his thoughts on the race, the track, and coming up with a victory. Pretty good crowd on hand here for Fair Night. Every part of the stands has some folks in it. Some enjoying the midway, some making their way in here to the track. As Jay Elson is standing by with Bill Mooney.
Hey, Bill, you know, a couple of weeks ago you had a tough night. How satisfying is it then to come back here on TV and get a victory?
Oh, very satisfying. It's been a couple trying weeks, but we kept grinding, and it's nice to, you know, like I say, that low point average kind of helps out. You get to start in the front row on a track like that. It was definitely an advantage, and but when you have some bad luck, you'll take good luck like that any day. So
it seemed like you fell in love with the high side during your heat race, and you really never changed things up. You stuck up there all night.
Yeah, in the heat race, I made a pass in the leader with one to go there and actually got him, but it was just because it was on a restart. Once you get up to speed, it's pretty hard to beat the high line when it's like that, and I like running that high line momentum, and you know, I always say that running the bottom's like, you know, going to work, but yeah, so like I say, it couldn't have worked out any better. High line is my cup of tea, and starting front row outside is a good night.
That said, with this field, these guys behind you, you can never get comfortable, right?
No, you can't. And I mean, there's, you know, I'm sure there was 8 guys behind me that were running almost the same lap times, and at one little hiccup and they could have got me. So you don't know that going up front, and you got to just try and, you know, I was talking myself into, after that last caution, just, you know, just hit your marks, and if they're going to beat you, they got to beat you, you know, fair and square, and just don't beat yourself kind of thing. So I just kind of tried to hit my lines and finish it off.
Sure. Well, congratulations, Bill, on the win. Bill Mooney, your NLRA late model winner tonight at River City Speedway.
All right, we'll take a quick time out and be back with our main event, the Northern Outlaw Sprint Association Sprint Cars, coming up next here on Midco Sports Network. Stay with us.
This race on Midco Sports Network is presented by Home of Economy and Danos Marine.
Welcome back to River City Speedway, our final race of the evening, getting pushed off. The NOSA Sprints. Coming up here in just a couple of moments on Midco SN. Here is your Danos Marine NOSA Sprint starting grid. Casey Mack and Chris Wren, 2 guys that have run very well at this track, will be on the front row. Thomas Kennedy and Wade Nygaard, last night's winner. Nygaard will be on the outside of row 2, followed by Greg Nikotenko and Austin Pierce in row 3. Jackson Moffitt of Fargo, along with Alex Larson of East Grand Forks, will start in 8th. Jordan Adams from Reynolds and East Grand Forks, Nick Amdahl, will make up the 5th row. And then Jordan Graham and Trent Stengel will make up row 6. Jade Hastings on the outside of row 7 with Ty Hanton. Zach Wild of Thief River, and Blake Eglin will make up the 8th row. Tom Eglin and John Sorensen in row 9. Brendan Wild and Trevor Mell in row 10. Then Justin Berg of Williston, North Dakota. Making a long way out here, racing with Cale Mack from East Grand, Sabrina Hawkinson, and Shane Romling was able to get his car back together, and he's been pushed off and will be out there. Tanner Wisk and Braden Pengilly will be your final 2 starters in row 13. Your car report, brought to you by Home of Economy, is the 82K of Thomas Kennedy.
Well, as you see, Thomas is in a different car for this weekend. He's typically in the Boss Blue 21K that is family owned, and this week he's running the Buffalo Wild Wings 82 car. Thomas has 6 wins on the season, and he was runner-up King of the 360s at East Bay this spring.
Thomas Kennedy, you notice he's got his blue seat in there. Of course, he had to take that out to get in there, and TJ in the car. That's a 21K loaded up. They had to bring it in to get some decal work done anyway in town, so that's all been done. We should mention River City Speedway has the world's fastest lap time, 9.269 seconds, set by Jason Myers back in 2009. The world's closest finish between first and second, just 0.24 seconds on July 13th of 2012 at a World of Outlaws late models race. And the world's most lead changes, and I was here for this race in 2011 between Steve Kinzer and Donnie Schatz, with the exception of last year's Knoxville Nationals, where Jason Johnson and Donnie Schatz went back and forth at it on a 50-lap feature. That was the best race I'd ever seen in my life.
Well, actually, that was one of the best races I've ever seen as well, because I was in that race and I was lapped, I believe, 2 or 3 times in that race, and I got to see them go side by side as they were passing me.
That was an unbelievable race between 2 veteran guys, and even afterwards, they were so excited, and they hugged each other. I mean, they just had so much fun racing each other first and second.
Yeah, and King of the Outlaws and the Donnie Schatz is, I feel, going to be the next King of the Outlaws.
He's really kind of turned into that. It's hard to argue it with the wins and the championships as we take a look at your week-by-week winners here at River City Speedway. Mark Dobbmeyer, well, he's won once or twice here. Thomas Kennedy actually won a pair of races here, and then Austin Pierce and Chris Ranton before getting ringed out a couple of weeks ago. No race last week with the World of Outlaws for a sanctioned race here for points. But Mark Dobbmeyer was the closest local finisher, finished in 9th.
There's a handful of drivers that can win this race. Really, I mean, you toss it up. There's any one of the top 10 cars, top 15 cars, you know, can win this race. And I've seen drivers come from tail end to win a race here at River City Speedway.
Well, we weren't sure if we were going to have you here this Friday night, Chris, and there's a look why. You were celebrating the birth of your 2nd child, born on Tuesday, correct?
Born
or was
on
it Monday?
Monday, yes.
Monday afternoon, you and your wife celebrating the birth of your 2nd child. I know you were kind of sweating it out a little bit this year.
I was sweating it out quite a bit. Corbin Rhett was born 2/13 on Monday afternoon, excuse me, and right on his due date, so he came on time. Unlike his dad, who is typically late all the time.
Congratulations to you and your wife and your family on the birth of your 2nd child.
Thank you,
That's
appreciate
awesome
it.
to see. All right, what are we looking for here early, Chris?
Right away, get the jump on the start. Alex Larson is going to want to get a good jump on the start, and then just run a clean 25 laps. Once you get to lap traffic will be 5 to 7 laps, I would assume. And once lap traffic comes into play, it's anybody's game. You want to be aggressive, but yet you want to be, a little bit hesitant.
Now you notice how we announced the first 4 rows. You're like, wait a minute, Brian, that's not right. Well, they invert the 4 rows. There was an 8-number draw, so Casey Mack and Chris Ranton, who would have been on the front row, are back to the 4th row. And the guy that would have started 8th and 7th, Jackson Moffitt and Alex Larson, are actually on the front row. So that's why on our standings it looked that way, but with the inversion, that's why the front 8 cars look different in terms of where they're starting in their position.
Absolutely, and right now you notice this is the greatest sight in sprint cars. It's a 4 wide, 4 abreast start. Everybody starts 4 abreast. It's a salute to the fans. That's what we do. We couldn't do it without the fans. That's our way as drivers to say thank you to you fans coming out tonight, you fans tuning in watching tonight.
Trevor Mell came to a stop on the front straightaway. He has been pushed back off again in that 27X. And I talked to Trevor a little bit earlier today down in the pits, and when he raced at Jamestown, and he hasn't run a 410 very long, the front wing bracket, something broke. It was almost down at his face. I even asked him, how did you see? And he goes, I don't know. I really didn't. But mainly ran a 305. Braden Pendley back out there. We saw her go over in hot laps, was able to finish her heat race.
Yeah, and Shane Romling, he is back out on the track. It's pretty remarkable to see how tore up these cars can get and then how fast they can get put back together and back on the track and be competitive.
So with the inversion, good news there for Austin Pierce and Greg Nikotenko. They move up a couple of spots from 5th and 6th to 3rd and 4th. You got two pretty young, inexperienced guys in front there with Larson and Moffitt. We'll see how they handle the start here. And Mel came to a stop again in turn 2, was trying to get off the track, but his car quit. So he will get pushed to the pits, and that will likely be it here for Trevor Mel from Harwood. Trevor was out actually helping Lee Gross last night, both from Harwood, North Dakota. Lee running a 360 with a hard charger, came all the way up to finish in the top 10. Well, the feature on Lee and his grandfather Doug Howells on Midco Magazine coming up on July 3rd. You won't want to miss that. It's a lot of fun to work on that story. A legendary figure in this sport is Doug Howells. So we're underway. Alex Larson, Jackson Moffitt will start early. Moffitt. And we're under caution.
Looks like we got a caution for a jumped start.
So who jumped? Was it Larson or?
I believe it was Larson. There's a white line. Wade Nygaard and Austin Pierce just crossed it. There's a white line in turn 4. You cannot hit the gas until you cross that line.
You can maybe understand a guy like Larson, young on the pole, wants to try to get out to a decent lead, maybe jump the gun a little bit.
Yeah, and all it takes is a split second, a quarter second. If he would have just taken a quick breather, you can see the white line there. Yep, he's already on the gas. And you do want to beat the guy on the outside of you or the inside of you. You want to play games with them and you want to beat them off the line, but you can't quite push it the envelope that much.
And Larson will be penalized a couple of rows, and that will put Austin Pierce on the pole. Larson will move back to the 3rd row. So that worked out well for Pierce, the 2-time track champion here at River City Speedway.
Pierce and Nygaard both moved up one position.
Nygaard, Kennedy, and Dobmeyer put on one heck of a show last night at Norman County Raceway in Ada. They creep up to that white spot. Pierce on the gas. Pretty clean start across the board there. Everybody's still on 4 wheels coming out of turn 2. Pierce immediately to the top of the cushion. Wade Nygaard into 2nd. Here comes Thomas Kennedy now, passing Casey Mack up to 4th. Pierce continues to lead, already into lap traffic, just 4 laps in. He zips by the 47 car of Sabrina Hawkinson.
Heavy lap traffic in front of Austin Pierce.
Boy, Pierce is flying on the high side of the track. But he's got a lot of cars in front of him, including Cale Mack and Shane Rodling.
That allows Wade Nygaard to catch up here. And Jackson Moffitt is also catching the leader. Everyone is kind of catching up on this bottleneck up here.
Thomas Kennedy right on the fuel tank of Moffitt. Tried a slide job in 2, couldn't make it stick. Here comes Nygaard, reeling in Pierce into lap traffic. Oh Oh boy, and that has really become a race as Pierce is struggling to get through traffic. That time splits a pair of cars up to the high side of the track.
Nygaard follows suit.
Moffitt now able to get around a couple of lap cars. He's still running third. Thomas Kennedy has fallen back a little bit. Nick Omdahl has actually moved up into fourth. Chris Renton up to fifth. The gap under a second between Pierce and Nygaard.
Oh, slide job.
Oh, we got a car over into the front stretch. It's Omdahl. And a red flag comes out. A Dakota Cat caution as Omdahl was battling. Had Moffitt, Kennedy, and Ranton all battling for those spots in the middle of the pack.
Passing has been tricky, and I believe Omdahl went for a slide job and just didn't quite make it. And him and Jackson Moffitt got together.
Take a look at Omdahl battling with Moffitt, tried the slide job, and they got into each other. And boy, Moffitt got banged around pretty good too. Two cars that weren't willing to give up their spot. We'll see how much damage that Moffitt has to his 91 machine. It went banged into the wall a little bit. And Omdahl is out of the car. He appears to be okay, and that is certainly a good sign. We'll take a quick break and be back with more. Your Northern Outlaw Sprint Association race here at River City Speedway. Take a look at your July schedule for the Northern Outlaw Sprint Association, brought to you by Buffalo Wild Wings. Greenbush Race Park coming up 1 week from tomorrow. Then back here at River City Speedway, and that will be double features for the sprint cars coming up that day. So the next couple of weeks are River Cities. Some good racing, and we won't want to miss that. Devils Lake Speedway, then back at River Cities. And then NOSA will head to Red River Valley Speedway for the first and only time this year. That will be a Sunday night show at the track during the Red River Valley Fair. Then back at River City Speedway and Devils Lake on the 21st and 22nd before coming back here to Grand Forks to round out the schedule here at the end of the month. They are pushing the cars off, stack them up, and get underway. All right, let's take a look at this thing full speed with the audio. Listen for yourself. So you want to be a sprint car driver, huh? So there you go. Nick Omdahl took a pretty good tipsy turn. We talked about, you saw some issues there with Jackson Moffitt as well, who hit the wall pretty hard there coming out of fourth.
Yep, both drivers sustained damage. Obviously, Nick Omdahl sustained the most with a tipping the car over. Jackson Moffitt did get into the wall, and it looks like a right rear was down. So he is in the pits. He gets 3 minutes to change that right rear. Usually that's enough time unless you wreck the Jacobs ladder, which keeps the rear end square in the car. Here we have a shot of him. It looks like the car's fairly straight. They're just changing out that right rear and should be good to go.
Yeah, you can see the frustration there from Jackson, who was running a good race, had a chance for one of his highest finishes of his career here at River City Speedway. Just his third year in a sprint car.
There must be some hidden damage on the inside. Maybe the Jacobs ladder is bent. Rear end could be bent or broken.
Guys, you hear that? Just get the line up and go.
So yeah, you can see that by that look by Jackson Moffitt. He is done for the night, unfortunately, for the young man out of Fargo. And we had talked about Mark Dodmeyer racing last night in Ada at Norman County Raceway and came home in second place to Wade Nygaard. There's a look at your feature winner. Yeah, how about Dobmeyer? 2 top 10 finishes in the World of Outlaws this season. He is racing in Jackson tonight. He's in a points battle. He leads the points down in Jackson. And those points are valuable. Only 10 410 races down there this season. But if you win, it's $10,000.
Exactly. Mark was, when we told him the date of this show, he was very disappointed for his fans. He wanted to be here tonight. Disappointed for his sponsors. This is, you know, racing in his hometown. This means everything. But a points battle in Jackson, that's huge as well.
And then he may come back to race here tomorrow night. He may go to Knoxville. He hadn't totally made up his mind last night when I talked to him. But certainly a guy that wants to maybe get a few laps in Knoxville as they prepare for the Nationals here in just about 6 weeks.
Yeah, the Knoxville Nationals, that's the epitome of sprint car racing. You want to do well in Knoxville, and Mark's actually finished 6th place in the biggest race of the year. And that's pretty impressive to say that he races in Grand Forks, North Dakota every week. He's from here, born and raised.
We were at a shop a couple of weeks ago, you and I were, Chris, and we were taping a couple of segments with Mark. And we looked at his engine, how beautiful it looked. It was just gorgeous. Everything's all shiny. And I said, well, you know, what does an engine like this cost you? He said $66,000. It is not a cheap sport, Chris, to do.
It is.
People don't realize just how much money is tied into these cars. And then we say after 10, 12 races, you send them back to get freshened up, and that costs $15,000.
Yeah, it's you're not making any money racing one of these cars. It's definitely a hobby. There's a few drivers out there that are doing this as a living, as you saw Donnie Schatz earlier in the segment. But here in Grand Forks, a lot of us drivers, we work on Monday. We have to go back to work, and we work today all day.
And then at night you're working on the car.
And now we're working on the car.
You raced Knoxville Nationals a few different times, Chris. It's just unlike any other place in the country. A tough track to figure out, a place you have to have experience to really be successful.
Yeah, it's like you said, I'm used to racing these short little bull rings, and you drive them so different than when you drive a big half mile. You want to be smooth, you have to have experience, you have to be lucky. There's so much that goes on in Knoxville to race for $150,000 to win.
$10,000 to start, I believe.
$10,000 to start. Yep, there's 24 drivers can start, and 100 drivers are usually entered. So 75 drivers are sitting in the pits, sitting on the trailer, watching the other 24 just hoping and praying one year.
And Mark Dobmeyer's been in that A feature. He actually won his qualifying night a few years ago.
Yeah, and he did so in impressive style.
Yeah, he certainly did. See what he can do coming up here in about 6 weeks at the Nationals. We'll be down there too for Midco Motorsports. Nygaard Pierce brings the field to green, and how about that start for Ranton? Snuck underneath, and right into 2nd place. Here comes Kennedy on the high side as he's into 3rd. Oh, look at the battle. 15 laps to go. 4 wide going into turn 4.
That was not a good start by Wade Nygaard, but don't count him out yet. I've seen him come from further back than 4th with less laps than this.
I'll tell you, a guy that's having a really good drive is Trent Stengel, all the way up into 5th place. Started 12th. Pierce continues to lead as he gets into lap traffic. And the yellow is out. A Dakota Cat caution flag.
Looks like Jade Hastings must have went off of turn 2. He's in turn 4 coming onto the track as we speak.
Jade Hastings, just a teenager. Running for a few years.
Doesn't look like anything was wrong with the car, so he must have just fallen off the track and drove it around and pulled it back onto turn 4. Once you fall off the track here at River Cities, they do not want you to come back on the track because it's so high banked. As soon as you fall off, it's a caution flag. So you can keep the car going and pull back on safely.
Certainly makes a lot of sense at the speeds these cars are going, Chris. And you know, people ask all the time, how fast are these cars going? Well, you would probably know.
Tonight we're hitting laps of about, high 12s, low 13 seconds. That is actually a fairly slow lap time. While the track record is 9.2 seconds, and that's on a 3/10 mile. There's a lot of people that drag racers that are impressed with a 10-second quarter mile. Well, that's straight. These are 10-second quarter miles that are on turns.
Speaking of Wade Nygaard, who was moved back to 4th. Some highlights from the fair last night that's going on out there. It's fair, it must be fair time around here. Saw Thomas Kennedy. How about that move from Dobmeyer sliding underneath? You see the smoke coming off the tires. That's just how rubbered down this track was towards the end. But Nygaard ended up pulling away, ran a very good race, and cruised to his first victory of the season. And they're lining up and should be good to go next time by. Now Ranton, they were able to complete a couple of laps, so Ranton will actually get the inside of row 1 with Pierce choosing the outside lane, which makes sense compared to where he's been running here so far in this feature race.
Yeah, and Chris Ranton or Austin Pierce will actually be able to start between the 2 cones, one in turn 3 and one in turn 4. Chris Ranton cannot pass the leader until Austin Pierce takes off.
So Ranton Pierce will bring him to green, 12 laps down. Here we go. Nygaard shoots to the high side of Kennedy. He's passed Ranton back to 2nd. Good start for Nygaard. Everybody runs the top in the first 4 cars. Kennedy almost got in the back of Ranton. And here comes Alex Larson.
Alex Larson with a great run on the bottom. He's making that bottom work. Everybody else is up on top, and he's found something on the bottom.
Well, how about the youngster up to 4th place? Pierce continues to drive away. The lead is almost 2 seconds. Pierce already in the lap traffic. Nygaard's going to try to rein him in. Pierce going to have to put a slide job here on Hastings.
It looks like the top of 1 and 2 is starting to take a little rubber. See, they're not going all the way up to that cushion. They're staying in that black part of the racetrack.
Pierce around Wild. Nygaard's got a couple of lap cars between him and Austin Pierce. The lead for Pierce is almost 2.5 seconds with 5 laps left. Nygaard 2nd, Ranton, and here comes Thomas Kennedy now up to the 4th spot, looking to pass Ranton. Casey Mack up to 5th, Stengel 6th, Jordan Adams 7th. Jordan Adams has moved into 6th place around Stengel. Pierce continues to work around traffic, around the other Wild, and Jordan Graham, and Pengilly.
Looks like the track's taking rubber all the way around, coming up to the white flag here.
White flag for Austin Pierce. He's got a huge lead, 3 seconds over Wade Nygaard, and he will take home your Buffalo Wild Wings checkered flag. Nygaard 2nd, ran 3rd, Thomas Kennedy 4th, and Casey Mack comes home 5th with Jordan Adams and Trent Stengel racing to the line for 6th and 7th. What do you make of that, Chris?
That was fun.
Give credit to Austin Pierce. He had the best car here tonight, won it handily by over 3 seconds over Wade Nygaard, was maneuvering through lap traffic. He brings home the victory here tonight at River City Speedway. Pierce will make his way to victory lane.
It is Austin's second feature win of the season.
Pierce pulling into victory lane here at River City Speedway as we take a look at our NOSA Sprint feature results, brought to you by Acme Tools. Austin Pierce, Wade Nygaard, Chris Ranton coming home third. The 82K of Thomas Kennedy in fourth, Casey Mack fifth, and Jordan Adams just edged out Trent Stengel by the slimmest of margins for sixth place. Alex Larson, eighth, Blake Eglin ninth, and Shane Romling comes all the way from 24th to finish in 10th. Not too bad for a guy whose car was in about a zillion pieces about an hour ago.
That is true. Anytime you can go from 24th and you can pass a few cars, that's a good run.
Fun night here at River City Speedway on Fair Night. So glad you could join us here on Midco Sports Network. First ever time we've done this. We hope we did okay, Chris.
Yeah, it's the next best thing to be in here.
Fans will applaud Pierce. Some will head to the midway and maybe ride a few rides, get some mini donuts or whatever the case may be, on what turned out to be a really pleasant night here at the racetrack. Our own Jay Elson has been pit side. We'll have a report for us.
Thank you, sponsors for us.
I'd like to thank Off Construction, Lithia Ford of Grand Forks, Abstract, AJ Sandblasting, August Flying Service, Athens Snow Removal.
The NOSA Sprints will continue to keep busy. Late models next week, as we mentioned. Donnie Schatz is here, running both sprint cars and late models. So that'll be a treat for everybody to take a look at Pierce maneuvering around lap traffic. And if you want to win races, you want to be good consistently, this is what you have to do, don't you, Chris? You got to be good in lap traffic.
Yeah, lap traffic will make or break a driver, and Austin showed he was handling them superbly.
Jay Elson standing by with Austin Pierce.
All right, Austin, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. You inherited that top spot for the start of this one after that jump start on at the beginning. So once you got there, what was the strategy?
Once I got there, I knew the only line out there was probably going to be the top, so I just wanted to protect that and be smooth up there. It was a little choppy up there on both ends, and then kind of coming off the corner and 3 and 4 dried off. So if I could be careful there, I thought it'd be okay.
Got awful thick for you, got into lap traffic awful quick, so you had to really, obviously be very careful once you were trying to weave your way through the field. You kind of had to spread yourself out a little bit more there.
Yeah, it did get a little hairy in the lap traffic there. It actually helped me having the lap traffic there because I had to move down a couple times in 1 and 2 there, and I started to feel a little bit of rubber coming in down there. So every lap I started moving a little bit lower and lower to try to protect all the lanes I could.
Obviously, you've had a lot of success at this track in the past. I'm sure it never gets old to get back to victory lane here at River City.
No, it's our second win of the year here. Last year we didn't win here until towards the end of the year, so you can't be better than this. And I'd also like to thank my crew, Kyle and Lee, for sticking with me and going out of town almost every weekend so far. My wife and my son for letting me do this, and also my crew's wives. They really make this thing go around.
All right, well, congratulations, Austin, on the victory.
Thank you.
All right, Austin Pierce, the winner here tonight in the 410 NOSA Sprints at River Cities.
Thank you so much, Jay. Thank you so much, Austin Pierce, and congratulations. So the number 2 comes away with the victory here at River City Speedway. Back to wrap things up from here at the Bull Ring. Back to wrap things up here from River City Speedway in Grand Forks, North Dakota. Our first ever live event where we've televised racing from this legendary bull ring here on the Grand Forks County Fairgrounds. Brian Shawn and Chris Schierick with you on what was a really fun night of racing. I think the track shaped up, Chris, to be very racy and very fun to watch. We saw a lot of passing, really in all the classes, especially in the feature events.
Yeah, it's anytime you can get a lot of side-by-side racing, that's what the fans want. The sprint cars went, 10, 15 laps without a caution. It provides close racing, exciting racing. That's all you can ask for.
And Austin Pierce certainly deserved it. That's a guy that's really come into his own, I think you'd have to say, Chris, in the last few years. Really has taken off since 2014, has won a couple of track championships here, and has kind of become that next guy outside of Mark Dobmeyer from this area that people are like, this guy has a chance to do this regularly in terms of getting into that victory lane.
Yeah, there's a few drivers. I would say there's probably about 5-10 drivers that can win any night, and of the 5-10, there's probably 3 or 4 that you'd put your money on, and Austin's one of those drivers that I put my money on.
Overall, what do you take away from this first ever time we've done this? I think, for us, we didn't know going into this exactly how it was going to turn out. We went in a little bit blind, obviously, but that was a lot of fun, wasn't it?
It was a lot of fun. I hope that we can do this again. I hope you fans had a great time watching. I hope we did. I hope we did all right. I feel we did all right. I had a lot of fun.
Well, we had a lot of fun. So
yes.
At least for us, we feel like we did a good job because we just enjoyed ourselves.
Absolutely.
We just talked racing for 2 hours. We can do that anytime.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for joining us here on Midco Sports Network. Hope to be back here at the Bull Ring. Maybe some other tracks around the region as well for more dirt track racing in the future. Congrats to our feature winners, Troy Hoff, Young Peterson. Kelsey came up with a victory. We saw a few wrecks. But overall, a great night of racing. Austin Pierce, Bill Mooney, your other winners so far here tonight. For Jay Elson, Chris Schierick, I'm Brian Shawn, saying so long from the legendary Bull Ring in Grand Forks.